Like they might not be sentimental through object. They might be sentimental through experiences, like for example,
Yeah.
traveling. And I'm just thinking for someone who doesn't feel any of that, like experiences, emotions, objects, like they don't feel sentimental towards any of that. Does that mean that they just don't care?
Let's start this thing, fool. Hello, I'm Sam.
And I'm Amelia.
Welcome back to us show podcast, a podcast where we build better mindset for better relationships.
Yeah, and this week we are going to be talking about mindset and maybe past relationships and all that kind of feeling. And if you're watching the video, you might see us in a different spot because we just decided to switch just cause.
Just
my
'cause.
face is a little red on the right side because I just had a facial.
Doesn't want to show it.
Yeah, so I can't put makeup on and cover it up, but it's all about natural. We also have some drinks here. We have some cake here. We're just going to get lit and talk about this topic.
Suntory, please sponsor us.
Not that one though, the yuzu flavor. But anyways, we are going to be talking about sentimental, the feeling, and are we sentimental?
That's a good question. Are we sentimental? Well, yeah, I think I am somewhat sentimental, and I think it depends on the moment as well.
What do you mean by depends on the moment?
So for me, I am very much a person about the journey and the experiences. So in most cases, depending on how big of a journey it was and how much of an experience it was, to me, that's sentimental. Yeah.
Nice. Did you touch the cake? I can
Yeah.
see a dent in it.
I did a little dent in the cake because I wanted to taste it. So suck shit.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely am a sentimental person, and I think I've always been like that. And sentimental in terms of just certain moments and situations, even objects, places, brings back memories for me. But let's also go into what does it mean to be sentimental?
My definition of being sentimental is when you're being emotional and valuing that thought or that moment or that situation at that point in time. That's when you are sentimental of that particular.
Like, you mean it brings an emotion or?
It brings an emotion in some way, yeah. That's what I think it is, but I don't know if that is the true Google definition.
My thoughts of sentimental is that sentimental is nostalgia, or it brings a feeling of nostalgia, which means that it's a feeling that you have felt in the past, feeling or a moment and something reminded you of it. That's what sentimental means to me.
Interesting. So you always relate it to the past.
Yeah.
Ah.
I'll go into the definition and why I feel like that is true. So the meaning that we researched is a sentiment is a combination of emotion and a thought, which, yes, is true. And it's an emotional attachment. And it's a correlation between the past as well. It's always something about the past.
Right. See, I always thought that being sentimental can be a present moment as well.
Why do you feel that?
Because when you're sentimental of something, whether it's an object, like you said, whether it's an experience or a journey.
Damn, that matcha cake's so good.
Yeah, when you're sentimental of those of the above that I mentioned before, for me it reminds me. It doesn't really remind me of the past. It more so reminds me of the moment that I value. So if it's an experience that it gave me, whether it's an emotional feeling that it gave me at that point in time, that's what I value the most. And fucking you like a grub, eh? Just spilling shit everywhere. Hey, bruv. Hey,
It's so good. If you're ever in Brisbane,
don't eat with your mouth full, mate.
there's this Asian dessert place called Sunda. Favorite place ever. We got matcha cake and tiramisu, and cannot go wrong.
ASMR. Okay. Well, yeah, that's what I think. Well, that's what I feel in the fact of the terminology of that.
Because sentiment, it has to be attached to something. So if you're in a present moment and say you're feeling really happy, say for example, you're hanging out with your friends and you're really enjoying that moment, I don't feel like you can feel sentimental yet because you're just a person that's enjoying and being present in the moment, right? but being present and enjoying the moment isn't exactly sentimental.
So I've been lying to myself this whole time.
Maybe I don't know what you've been
Okay.
thinking. I feel like that's what my understanding of sentimental is. But a second thought from that is sentimental the same as nostalgic, or is sentimental correlated to nostalgic? That was what I was thinking, because these are all the words that are correlated to sentimental when I think about it.
Well, hang on. Let's define what nostalgic actually is.
Yeah,
So
nostalgic is also usually triggered by something reminding an individual of an experience from the past, which is quite a similar explanation of what sentimental is.
that's why I was saying before, I didn't feel like sentimental had any relation to the past because now that we've defined nostalgic, that's my view of what you were talking about before was more related to being nostalgic.
Yeah. So I feel like, to me, after reading both the definitions, I think nostalgia and sentimental are quite
Similar in some
similar.
regard, yeah.
They both associate to a feeling or an emotion for someone from something that they're reminded from the past.
Yeah.
But another question, what is sentimental versus emotional? Are they both the same thing? I'm only thinking that because sometimes when someone is very sentimental, they can get very emotional. So do you think that that's the same thing?
I don't think it's the same thing. They are separate in their own categories, but there is some overlapping. So emotional to me is more about you have an emotional attachment or something that affects your emotions, whether you feel happy, sad, depressed. That's the differences with the sentimental because sentimental can give you the emotional feelings as well, like positive or negative feeling, but there's a deeper feeling towards sentimental because it can, like you said, it can be an object, it can be an experience, it can be a journey where you hold that close to yourself.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good definition. And when I was looking this up, as in searching what is sentimental versus what is emotional, the explanation is that the emotions or emotional is an energy that moves through your body and it triggers you to do an action. So, for example, if you feel happy, you'll laugh. If you feel sad, you'll cry. So, those are some things that trigger you to do an emotion. But the difference between emotional and something that's sentimental, when you're feeling an emotion, usually it's a short burst of that feeling. So you'll cry once you cry, that's it. Whereas if you're sentimental, it's a feeling that will linger for quite a long time. So every time that the situation or an object reminds you of something, it will come up again.
I guess that was sort of somewhat what I was kind of referring to in my definition. But I guess when I was trying to think of it, I didn't really think of it more of a past feeling or history that I had that whatever that has happened has re-brought those feelings again. I was more relating it to the fact of, well, I value this as being sentimental to me because it was a journey or an experience, or that item is what I truly value at that point in time. I guess that's how I kind of
It makes sense. I can see where you're coming from. My understanding is that it's a moment that you value and you treasure, and you would like to have this again, or you would like to feel that again.
yeah. And I think something that you could probably say is sentimental and that is relatable to your past is more when I hear a song that's like a 90s song and I think of all the memories that I think of at that point in time. And it brings up all the childhood memories, the 90s, reliving the 1999 period or era, like that kind of feeling that it gives me.
Like it's raining men,
No,
humidity is
it does
rising.
not rain. No,
It does not
no,
rain. Such a
no,
good
no.
song.
It's like that song 1999 by Charlie X.
What's that?
So it's that song that she's like, oh, I just want to go back to living in the 1999. And it's her basically singing the song and it's talking about like the past of the 90s. And in the music video, she basically depicts different images of the 90s, like your Titanic, having the Apple little cube computers and stuff like that.
The
And
translucent
yeah,
computers.
yeah. So it was that kind of, to me, that's nostalgic
Mm,
because that's like bringing back the past of what we lived through. And those were the good moments, you know what I mean? And for some people, that can be sentimental.
yeah. Well, while we're on this topic of music making you feel sentimental, are there any other? Do you have an example of what you mean by you feel sentimental when you're enjoying a certain journey or moment?
Where do I start, man? To me, music is a way that I could be a combination of venting, could be a combination of just reliving the history or the past. So there are certain songs that I would listen to and be like, fuck, it brings back those good old memories. Like, for example, if I listen to, I'm just thinking of one off the top of the head, like Neo.
Ding, 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 ding.
The hell's
And
that?
it's all because of you.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Isn't that,
Yeah.
no, what's the song called?
All because of you.
Oh, well, there's another one like So Sick.
'Cause I'm so sick of
Yeah.
love songs.
Like that song, like when I listen to that, I think of like the heartbreak that I went through with my first girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like that was
Wow,
the
that
song.
was deep.
That was the era of my, teen into my early
Like
teen.
when all teens listen to sad songs so that
Yeah,
they can look sad and feel sad.
I feel like with the early 2000s, music really had an emotional, like, I don't know, just the way they composed the music was very,
They know how to
makes people
hit the
attached to it.
hearts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But is there any other personal stories that you can attach to?
Whoa, okay.
Because you were just saying that you feel sentimental when you're in the moment and you're enjoying like some certain journey. I just want to understand your point of view, why you feel like it's a present thing.
Oh, okay, sure. So if I'm talking about sentimental at the present moment with no history, what I value that's most recent was when we went to Korea. Like that was an experience, that was a journey, and that was something I was really sentimental to me because one, I didn't have any sort of expectations going there. I didn't set anything out of that, and I technically didn't really want to go to Korea, but actually going there made me realize like shit, there was a whole new culture out there. Yeah, we watch Korean drama. Yeah, we listen to K-pop here and there. We didn't really think of it much outside of just those things.
Mm.
So actually going there and experiencing the culture, eating the food, living the life there, that was sentimental because those are the moments that you only really get to experience maybe once or twice, maybe.
So digging a little deeper in terms of why you felt sentimental, do you think you felt sentimental because you really enjoyed the traveling experience, or is it because of the people, like you got to travel with me, or why? Like just thinking deeper into
Yeah.
the levels, like peeling back the onions.
Peeling back the onion skins.
The onion.
Onion skin.
Why do you have to make it sound so gross? Like why was it sentimental?
Because as you peel back the onion skin, the deeper you get, the more it starts to make you cry because it's onion skin.
Oh.
That's right.
It's also a bit green in there as you peel back.
Well, I don't know about green. I don't know what kind of onions you're looking at, buddy, but
raw onions. Anyways,
Yeah.
so why?
yeah, I think it's a combination of the people. So we together went over there, and I think it was also just, like I said, the experience. The experience was just something that you can't really explain.
Mm.
Like if we were to sit in front of someone and say, hey, Korea was like this, Korea was like that, it's words can't explain the actual experience that you get when you're physically there.
Yeah, so I still feel like it is something that you have to be present. So this was something I was actually going to bring up a bit later, but my thoughts is you have to be able to be present to be able to feel sentimental. So in your case, and why I feel that is because you enjoyed your time, you were fully present and enjoying the moments. And now that you've gone left Korea, now you come back to Australia, that will always be a sentimental moment for you because of the experiences and like whatever you enjoyed there.
That's right.
That's what makes it sentimental. So that's why I'm thinking it's still something in the past because you've now done that. Now you're back here and it's just like a favorite memory of yours. But yeah, why I'm saying that you need to be present to be able to feel sentimental is because if you're not present at that point in time, once you've moved on, you might have forgotten what happened. Like you might have known that, oh, I went out today, but you don't remember what happened in your day. If that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. You've got to be in that present point in time to actually soak in the experience at that moment, to actually have that real feeling and to acknowledge what is actually going on around you.
Yeah. And the only reason why I bring that up is because I was just thinking that lately, I think because there's just so much going on in my life, everything's so fast paced. And I think it's just natural in this like modern day, everything is so fast paced. And I know myself as I used to be a person who would remember, like, say you told me something that was really meaningful or something that meant a lot to you, I would remember that. And even if it's like 5 years later, I would remember, oh, Sam really enjoys blah, blah, blah. Or he told me that he felt this certain way because of certain situation. But then lately, I've been thinking back, and I don't know if it's just something I'm not being present or I'm just doing too much. But lately, I've been having these fragments of memories of conversations I've had with someone. I was driving today and I was thinking about a certain situation that popped up in my head. And I was trying to think, who did I have this conversation with? And no matter how hard I tried to remember, I couldn't remember who it was. So that triggered my feeling or my thoughts of, you have to be present to be sentimental. Like, I know it's not exactly the same thing like what I'm explaining, but it's just that because I wasn't fully present, my mind wasn't fully clear. And even though I really did enjoy this conversation with someone, I can't remember who it was, which is
Yeah.
kind of sad. So now I'm just going to be more mindful of who I'm talking to and trying to remember that conversation.
Yeah, and that's important because you sometimes you just have to slow down, like you said. We're just living in this life of getting shit done,
And then just moving to the
doing
next point.
things, yeah, next point, and as good as it is, multitasking and doing all that sort of things, yeah, you really do need to slow the fuck down.
Yeah. Which is why I can see the importance of why people push for meditations and just being mindful and just feeling what you're feeling at that point in time. So you have a really good example. And for me, my sentimental memories or moments is always attached to family. So every time I go back to Canberra, I feel really sentimental because it just brings back all the past moments of us just hanging together.
Yeah,
So when we relive that moment, having fun and talking and just hanging out again, it just brings back all those memories. And I think it's because it's so rare to have family time now. Like, we all live so far apart. And when we actually have time to come back together, it's a nostalgic feeling, it's a very sentimental moment as well. And you recreate these moments while you're also remembering the past moments too.
and yeah, my family is quite small, all right? So it's just me and my sister, and really living and experiencing your family side of things. Like her family is huge. Like Millie's family is massive in the fact of there's cousins and this and that, and how's it going here and there. And like for me being an outsider, I never really experienced this sort of experience before. So coming into a family where really welcoming and really pretty much treating me like as if I'm a brother to all of them, which is something very different. But you can really feel the difference in terms of the experience and just the feeling that you get when you're present in that moment, sharing those moments, talking with with your cousins and your brothers and sisters. It really does give you that warm feeling.
Mm.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm just saying that. I'm actually saying that because it's like, speaking to your sister and hanging out with your bro and all your other cousins and whatnot. It just feels something just feels different. It just feels good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think family, no matter who you are, where you are, it's always something that really warms you when you get family time.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. And especially when, family starts talking to you with their personal matters and you're like, whoa, well shit, okay. But
Mm.
it's awesome because I'm a person that loves talking to people about those deep, meaningful things.
I think it just feels nice, and it makes you feel like you can be trusted when someone can open up to you, because you don't have to open up to people. And when they open up to you, it feels really nice where you're like, oh, wow, you actually trust me enough to give me your thoughts or give me your feelings. And
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I do feel what you're feeling in terms of like valuing family and just that time with family. It's really, yeah.
one other thing is very specific. It's again family. This one's like related to my dad. So, my dad is a very spontaneous person, and he will just do things whenever he wants. And sometimes it doesn't work out for him. Sometimes it's like, it gives you the greatest experience. And when I wake up really early to go and try something, like say there's a new bakery and I wake up at 6 a.m. just to go and line up there or do something in a similar manner of what my dad would do. Like, for example, he would wake up so early in the morning disappear while we're still sleeping, come back home, and he would have like all this a variety of breakfast for us. And he'll be like, "Wake up, guys, we've got breakfast." And then, you just feel so happy and you feel so warm, and you're like, wow, he actually randomly went out to just line up, go wherever he did to buy us breakfast. So when I do similar actions where I would wake up really early and go and explore or go out and try something, it just reminds me of my dad. So that's another very sentimental moment.
Mm. No, it's a good moment to sort of feel because now you're reliving the history of your dad doing those things. So you follow him and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do the same shit.
Mm,
And it's not just the fact of doing that activity, it's more the fact of like trying different foods
mm.
or lining up in the morning just to get your breakfast or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think that is really what built my personality. And you just got to try things. And even if it's out of your element, like say you don't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you usually like to wake up at 8, just making that, like obviously not doing it every day, but making that effort to try and wake up early to try and explore. It brings you rare experiences that you may not have experienced if you didn't choose to wake up early to do something. And I'm a big believer in if you want to try something and it does mean that you have to wake up early or you have to put in extra effort for something, I will do it. It's just
Mm.
being spontaneous and just try something out.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, making the effort to just go and give it a crack. Whereas me, I'm normally like, it's not the fact that I don't value what the activity or whatever it is, it's just the effort. I think it's just
Yeah.
me.
I think that's one key big difference between us is that I'm willing to do something and try something, even if it's something that's out of my routine. Whereas I feel like you're quite a routine person. And if you're so used to sleeping in, or if you're used to just going back home and sleeping or playing your games, or after you do something, you just go home and that's out of your routine, you're like, nah, fuck it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I like to specify or define it like as if I need to recharge.
Mm.
I need to go home and recharge my battery a little bit.
No, but I feel like if you don't like for you, like it's not for all cases, but if you don't get a heads up and it's quite spontaneous, especially if it's very late at night or very early in the morning, you're more likely to say no. Whereas for me, I'm more likely to be like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do it.
Mm,
Whereas you kind of need a bit of convincing, then you're like, yeah, okay. But if it's like spontaneous, we're out already, and then we're like, oh, I feel like going to DFO or like Harbour Town, which is a shopping outlet, you're like down to do it.
yeah, yeah, that's
But
true.
something that's like not in your routine, it takes a bit more effort to do that.
Yeah,
But
no,
anyways, that's not about sentimental.
yeah, it's a bit fucking off the topic here.
Yeah. Do you have any other sentimental memories or moments?
I do have another sentimental moment, and I think that moment is not your usual like positive, happy moment.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I guess my sentimental moment was me sitting at the hospital. Hang on, there was a few moments in the hospital, but there was one clear, definitive moment where it was me and Sam. We had to sleep in the hospital at night, and this is when my dad was sick. So it was me and Sam, and my mum, and my sister were staying in the hospital, and luckily Sam stayed with me because it was overnight, and hospital is pretty freaking scary, and there was like a little lounge room that we could watch TV and hang out, and it's like a kids' playroom. Anyway, we slept there. Little did we know the TV there is massive and it was freaking scary as shit. So we were cautious about seeing random shit pop up and we were like hearing things move and stuff like that. So we were a bit scared, but that was a sentimental moment for me in the fact of never thought that I would ever be in a moment or a situation where I have to be at a hospital. I wouldn't say mourning, but being there to support your parent. And the reason why I say that is because when I was in high school, I remember vividly that there was heaps of other school kids that, their parents were sick and passed away from being sick. And I always remember thinking, oh, fuck, I hope I never, ever have to do that in my life.
Yeah, well, it's not something that you would think about.
Especially when you're young.
Yeah.
So then when it came to my time to do that, I was like, fuck, okay, this is a moment that I was thinking about when I was in high school. And it's not that much longer after high school that I am living this situation.
Mm.
So to me, that was a valuable, sentimental moment where I'm like, that was my reality.
Did it teach you anything, or was it like, what were you feeling?
It taught me the fact that life's short and you've got to really look after yourself. But not only that, but realizing the fact that I probably didn't talk to my dad too much.
Mm.
So I never really had those moments to really be with him and to have those, son to father, you know what I mean, moments. And those are the moments that I go, fucking, I wish that I did those things more, or I spoke to him more, asked him more questions, being more curious.
Would you say like the sentimental like attachment that you like, either emotional or actions that is attached to that feeling or memory, is to connect more with others, or making sure that you're looking after your body?
It's noting the fact that everyone around you, everyone has their own experiences, but the people that you meet and you have good conversation with, life is so short, life's so fast. We're living in a fast-paced world that sometimes we don't realize that someone's life could be taken
Yeah, like
within
moments
seconds.
can be like moments
Slip
can slip
away.
by you
Yeah.
in a split of a second, and
And
next minute it's like 20 years later.
yeah, pretty much. So it's those kind of things that I go, fucking, we need to be more, I wouldn't say understanding of those things or whatever that's going on, but more present.
Be more mindful
Yeah,
that this
present
is.
and being more mindful of those moments.
No, that's a really good one. And like, although it is a sad situation, but I feel like it taught you a lot, and it teaches anyone a lot. And obviously, you don't want anyone to go through that, but it's definitely a big lesson.
Oh yeah, 100%. What about you?
One other one, this is also another very specific one, is when I smell the airport, or there's like a certain smell. I don't know what it is, but especially in Hong Kong airports, and I remember that smell or smell it somewhere else. It just reminds me of Hong Kong, and like it just brings back all the moments of me and my family, my siblings, my parents all traveling back to Hong Kong. And like, deeper than that, the reason why it's sentimental to me is those are probably the last moments where we actually always went back as a family to somewhere, like traveled together. And I just remember always hopping onto the plane, and I'll always sit next to my brother, and we always joke around, muck around, play games and all that. And these are just like the last moments of my family actually together. Because if people don't know, my family are separated, and it's a rare occasion. It probably will never happen again where we'll travel together. So every time I smell this like distinctive airport smell, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the aircon, or that smell that you get at the airport. Not every airport has it.
Is it like that smell when you sit on the plane?
A
Because you know how
little
the
bit.
aircon in the plane smells like that smell?
Yeah, it's like a distinctive smell, but not every airport has it. It's really weird, but sometimes I smell it even in like a building, and I'm like, wow, it just brings me back to hopping on and off a Hong Kong
So is
plane.
it one of those moments where you smell it and you smell it once and you're like, oh, oh, and then you have to take a big whiff again. You're like,
No,
and you're
you
like,
just
oh,
smell it, and it's like, it's not really flashback. It's really hard to explain, but it's like my brain is just filled. It's like someone just plugged in a USB, and all these photos or memories and videos have just popped up in my head, and it just like flashes through. And then it's like I'm just in that moment just enjoying it. Like, not in, like, it's kind of so back then I would have said that it was a sad moment, but now it's like, okay, this is what it is. And enjoying and remembering that memory, being happy in that moment, and then moving on.
yeah. I think you've just come to that point where you go, yeah, accepting the past, but it's a good moment that you've kind of held.
And then one other one is photos. Photos and videos, they're always sentimental to me because, like, if anyone knows me, I love taking videos, I love taking photos. And the reason why it's less of, in the social media days now, it's not because I want to show myself in social media. I don't want people to know what I'm doing on all that, but I'm really taking it to remember the moments for in the future. If I don't remember this point in time, or I don't remember what happened exactly, that is what's going to help me capture and remember, and help me retain the memories that I've made with certain people or places that I've been.
Yeah. Because they say pictures paint 1,000 words. So I think I'm somewhat similar in that fact because I didn't realize that I valued pictures and videos to the extent that you did. But I remember I used to just save videos and pictures onto my hard drive, and I accumulated all these fucking past photos and videos. And sometimes I look back and I go, fuck, those days.
Mm.
So I do see where you're coming from. And the other side of that is I do something very similar to my music. Back then, we used to download music through torrenting or fucking through
No one needs to
LimeWire.
know.
People
LimeWire.
know what LimeWire is. Yeah, I used to do that. And I would listen to music and it would all bring back those memories. Like I was saying before, sometimes when you listen to music and you go, shit, this song is something that I listened to when I was 10. And what was I doing when I was 10? Well, I was probably sitting there on my ass playing games, playing StarCraft, you know?
Mm.
Like those are the moments that, with music specifically, when I listen to it, sometimes it gives me or it paints that picture of the past. So
That's
that's
pretty
like that
cool.
nostalgic kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, music is definitely a good one. But moving along a little bit with some discussions, do you think that it can be a negative or a good thing when someone's like sentimental? I'm just thinking in a sense of sometimes I feel like in a general society, when you say that someone is not sentimental, you might think that this person doesn't care or this person is heartless. Whereas if someone's like too sentimental, are they like too emotional? Do you think that that's like a very stereotype thing?
I think it's a stereotype thing. I think why does it matter if that person is sentimental or not? Because, like we acknowledged before, sentimental is very similar and closely to nostalgic and very similar to being emotion or emotional.
Mm. So can you be too sentimental, do you think?
I don't think so.
I kind of feel like you can, and only reason why I say that is so linking back to the feeling of Hong Kong or the smell of Hong Kong. I feel like for someone who might be too sentimental is when you so my initial thoughts or feeling for smelling that sense of Hong Kong, I do feel sad because like I said, it was the last moments or last memories of me being with family where we are together. And if I lean into that too much and trying to think of that feeling, that memory, I will get sad. So I feel like if you really take on that emotion, that sad feeling, and you think to yourself that this is what I'm feeling right now, then you can be too emotional because now you're thinking that you're sad right now. Whereas this is actually a sentimental feeling of what you felt in the past. It's actually not a present feeling. It's something that you're just linking to what you're feeling. And if you think about it or think about it too long, then you start to become too sad. So I think you can
Mm.
sometimes be too sentimental.
Yeah, I can see where he's coming from. I think so long that the person, if they are too sentimental or if they're not as sentimental, so long that their attitude and their personality doesn't affect other people, that's the main thing. Like, for example, if I was feeling too sentimental because of a song and because I felt too sentimental, all my emotions came out. I started treating you like shit, for an example, because that song that just came on made me feel this bad. And
Mm.
like, I feel when it gets to that point where it affects others, that's when that's a problem.
Well, I think it doesn't necessarily have to affect others too. If it's affecting yourself as well, where you now
Mm,
start to feel sad or depressed, where it's a bit longer than it's necessary. That's why sometimes I think it's good to understand how you feel and understand what feeling means what. Like, for example, if you're feeling sad, is
mm,
it because of something that's happening right now? Or is it because of something that you're thinking about in the past and it's just a feeling that's coming and you can let it go?
yeah.
So I think it's important to understand how you feel. And if you let it come and you let it sit, then it's affecting you.
Yeah. And I think what you said before is a really good example of just acknowledging the feelings of, was it a nostalgic feeling that made you feel a certain way? And then if that's a tick box of a yes, then what are you feeling right now presently?
Mm,
And if that nostalgic feeling has an effect to you presently, then you need to realize, hey, that nostalgic feeling shouldn't affect you at your present moment.
mm.
You should acknowledge what's going on and what had gone on in the past, but not let it fuck you up right now, presently.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's why I brought up that being present and just being present in the moment because it's helpful for these situations. Like being present also helps you being in the moment so that in the future you can remember and value these moments, but also being present because you will be able to understand your emotions better so that you can understand if it's something that you're actually feeling right now or if it's something that you felt in the past.
Yeah. And I think for the opposite, for someone that is not as sentimental, so someone that could be, heartless, or someone that doesn't really value certain things, whether it's experiences or journeys or uh, certain objects.
Do you think like someone that's not sentimental is like, I don't know if heartless is the right word, but they just don't care or they don't really think too much about things?
I don't. I think it'd be a similar thing, but the opposite. It's fine for them to feel and think of a certain way, but so long that it doesn't affect them presently.
Like for someone who is not sentimental, I'm not saying that they're a bad person, but I do feel like they're not in tune with themselves where they're not being present. So they have nothing to be sentimental about because they haven't been present in a moment, for example. I could be wrong. I'm just trying to think
Mm.
like if you're thinking of someone who, if you ask like what's something that's sentimental to you and they said nothing, then is it because they just weren't present to even remember something, or is it because they just don't care enough to feel sentimental?
That's a good point.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I think an example is something that you mentioned before for yourself is pace of this current world, moving so quickly. You're multitasking, you're doing one thing and you're on to the next. Slowing down and pacing yourself, maybe to remember those important moments. That could be something that's relatable in some way.
Yeah.
Another way is if someone that said, "Hey, I don't think I have any sentimental values," or it could just be someone that doesn't think too much about it and isn't present.
Weirdly enough, we're watching Vampire Diaries again, and I'm just thinking, how they can turn on and off their emotions. And you know how Damon, he really just does not give a shit and he can just dump shit out because he doesn't care. I feel like it's a bit of that kind of action or that kind of personality where I'm not saying everyone that's not as sentimental is like that, but it just kind of reminds me of that where you turn off your emotions, you don't really care too much about that thing that's happening in that point in time and you just
Yeah.
move on or dump it out or you
Yeah.
don't attach
It
yourself to
can
something.
be subjective. Like if someone gave you something and that someone was someone that you truly cared about, that could be something that you can be sentimental about. But if the person who isn't or doesn't look at things as being sentimental could just be like, thank you, and then throw it away, kind of like the Damon
Yeah, but
situation.
like they might not be sentimental through object. They might be sentimental through experiences, like for example,
Yeah.
traveling. And I'm just thinking for someone who doesn't feel any of that, like
Mm.
experiences, emotions, objects, like they don't feel sentimental towards any of that. Does that mean that they just don't care? That's just my question
Yeah,
to you
good
guys.
question.
I don't know. Something to be
I
discussed.
think I think yeah, if we just look at it from a holistic point of view, it can be more than just sentimental. Like we said, maybe they don't see any nostalgic relation to whatever it is, or they don't see any emotion to it.
I just feel like everyone in this world should have something that they feel sentimental towards because otherwise I feel like that's a bit sad. Like, why isn't something making you feel nostalgic or sentimental?
Yeah, something should mean something to you.
Yeah, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And yeah, that was a really deep conversation. There are some things that definitely brought back a lot of memories and a lot of feelings. But like we said, not to hold on to it too much because it is something that happened in the past. And just remember to feel what you feel, acknowledge it, and yeah, enjoy the present moment.
Yeah, that's it. Let us know what your thoughts are, especially to what she said about the sentimental part and not being sentimental. Do you agree with us
Like,
or
are they heartless people? Do they
yeah,
not care? Or, yeah, we genuinely want to hear your thoughts. We're not here to roast anyone or like talk shit about anyone. We're genuinely just questioning that question.
yeah, it's a good question for you guys. But likewise, thank you for joining us and we will see you in the next one. Peace.
Bye. Cake time.